Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Fabien Zinga.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If you need to develop into a better leader, this podcast is for you. If you want to achieve a greater level of success, this podcast is for you. His mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, said it best: everything rises and falls on leadership. We hope to inspire you today and provide you with an insight that has the potential to positively impact the trajectory of your life. Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast.
Imagine gaining the leadership skills that could redefine your career. Join Coach BZ on the Leadership and Success Podcast, where each episode delivers practical insights from world-class speakers, military leaders, and industry experts. We dive deep into what matters most: building resilient teams, leading through uncertainty, and navigating complexity with clarity and confidence. Every conversation is crafted for aspiring leaders like you who are ready to grow, lead, and make a lasting impact. Don't miss our powerful live sessions and recent highlights. Michelle Hayward on building diverse, high-performing technical teams. Ann Leslie on leading through global complexity and cybersecurity risk. Ron Carpenter AI exploring faith, resilience, and AI-powered leadership. Colonel Michelle G.I. Gardner-Ince on commanding influence from the battlefield to the boardroom. Chris Robinson on shifting from drift to drive in life and leadership. And Coach Enrique Acosta Gonzalez on mentorship, legacy, and heart-centered leadership. Ready to level up your leadership journey? Tune in on Spotify, Apple, Audible Podcasts, YouTube Live, and LinkedIn Live. Join the movement toward leadership excellence. Listen now and start transforming your success.
Hello, everyone. This is Coach Busy for another edition of the Leadership and Success Podcast. It's Thursday, August the 14th today, and thank you so much for being here with me. Today, we're going to be talking about a very important article, I believe. And the reason why I think so is because we're going to be speaking about criticism, right? And if you are going to be a leader, I think you need to get used to the idea of being criticized. So you need to embrace it. Embracing criticism, leadership in the arena of resilience and hope. Uh, Albert Dunlap said the price of leadership is criticism. So there's just no way around it. And also Aristotle said, right, criticism is something you can avoid easily. But the way to avoid it, you have to say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. If that's you, then you never have to face criticism. But if you're gonna say anything, if you're gonna do anything, if you're gonna be anything, then you need to know that criticism will be a part of your life. So today we are going to be specifically talking about three things. We're going to be talking about discerning helpful feedback from harmful noise, building resilience without losing empathy, and also going through the struggle, not despite it. So while you are here, please make sure to let me know by typing in the comment where you are coming from, what city and state or country if you're outside of the USA. Also, if you have a question for me, please type it in the comment and I'm going to make sure to answer the question live. And also, if this podcast is adding value to you and there is a member in your inner circle who might benefit from what we are talking about, please tag them along so they can watch with you. And as you are watching the podcast, as you get an insight or a haha moment, please type in your insight in the comments so you can share it with all of the members of the audience so we can learn from one another. So I very much appreciate that. So I will have my AI agent take it over for now, and I'll be back in about 24, 25 minutes. And again, you have a question for me, just type it in the comment. And thank you so much.
Welcome to today's discussion on leadership and criticism, how embracing both can transform a leader's journey. We're talking about the arena of resilience and hope, where every critique is a stepping stone rather than a setback.
Absolutely. Yep. It's a powerful concept when criticism isn't a barrier, but a tool for growth. What's your take on the idea that the price of leadership is criticism?
Well, that quote from Albert Dunlap really encapsulates it, right? It reminds us that if you're stepping into a leadership role, criticism isn't just possible, it's
Yeah,
inevitable. And it's almost like a badge of honor, showing you're taking risks and making decisions.
right. And I love how that idea was put into perspective by Bob Fabien, Zinga, especially with his own experiences in high-pressure environments like the US Navy and cybersecurity. It really shows that when you're in the arena, every decision is scrutinized.
Exactly. It's like, imagine you're commanding a naval unit, and even if only 3% disagree with you consistently, you're faced with criticism on every move. And instead of chasing approval from that small group, you channel your energy into the mission and the larger team working tirelessly.
That's such a practical perspective. It's like the idea that focusing on the 97% who support you and trusting in your own path builds a stronger leadership foundation.
Yes, indeed. And it's not just about shrugging off negative comments, it's about reinventing them as opportunities for growth. You see, criticism might sting, but when you see it as evidence that you're actually making bold moves, it's incredibly empowering.
Right, definitely. And I find it fascinating that so many great leaders, like Theodore Roosevelt and Nelson Mandela, have underscored the importance of staying in the arena. Roosevelt's man in the arena really challenges us to keep going regardless of the critics.
Yep, and Mandela's advice not to be oversensitive really resonates. When you're too reactive to every piece of feedback, you risk losing focus on the mission. It's like you need to develop that thick skin without turning into someone unapproachable.
Right, But I wonder, isn't there a danger in filtering too much? Sometimes critics might have valuable insights that could be missed if you discount them outright.
That's a solid point. I believe the key is to consider the source and the intent behind the criticism. As the content suggests, not all critiques are created equal. Some come from experienced visionaries, while others are from those simply on the sidelines.
So it's a matter of having a discerning ear, sort out the constructive feedback from the noise, right?
Exactly. And that's where self-awareness comes into play. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses helps you filter criticism effectively. Instead of letting every critique shake your core, you assess whether it's about you personally or just about a decision you made.
That's like having a personal compass while navigating through a storm, knowing what aligns with your values and what doesn't.
Right. And speaking of storms, I love the metaphor in the donkey in the well story. Rather than being buried by criticism or dirt, literally, you use it to step higher and climb out of adversity.
Yes, that story always cracks me up, but also serves as a powerful reminder. Every bit of criticism can be repurposed if you have the right mindset. It's like turning manure into fertilizer for growth.
Absolutely. It's exactly that. Seeing potential where others see only problems. And then there's the optimistic son story. One kid sees a room full of toys, while the other recognizes opportunity even in a room full of manure. It all boils down to attitude.
And that attitude is what separates mediocre leadership from truly resilient leaders. I mean, Denzel Washington even said something compelling about criticism usually coming from someone who's doing less than you are.
Yeah, it's liberating to think that the harshest criticisms aren't necessarily from your equals. They're often just observations from someone on the sidelines without the challenges you face. That should give you pause to focus on what truly matters.
Now, I do think there's another layer here. Instead of dismissing every critique, it might be wise to extract the gold from the dirt. How do you go about doing that without getting overwhelmed?
It comes down to a process of careful reflection. First, consider if the critique has merit based on who's delivering it. Like we discussed, consider the source. Then, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Disregard the hostility, embrace the constructive part, and then move forward stronger.
That method seems both straightforward and tough in practice, focusing on continuous improvement while not letting negativity derail your focus. It's a balancing act, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It requires a lot of introspection and discipline. Leadership isn't just about making decisions, it's about enduring scrutiny and using it to refine your strategy. And sometimes that means staying in the arena even when the critics are loud.
Speaking of staying in the arena, I really appreciate the story of 3 Feet from Gold. It's such an inspiring reminder that success might be just around the corner, even when everyone's telling you to quit.
Yes, that story is a powerful nudge to persevere. The miner who quits just inches before striking gold. It reminds us that leaders need to trust their journey and persist, even when the going gets really tough.
Right. I see that as a call to action for leaders everywhere. Don't let critics, or even your own doubts, make you quit too soon. Sometimes the breakthrough is right after the peak of adversity.
Exactly, and that's so true. The content even connects these ideas to scriptural wisdom like Proverbs 15:31, which encourages listening to constructive criticism to be at home among the wise. It's a reminder that leaders must maintain a balance, listening deeply, but also knowing when to filter out the noise.
It's interesting how the message ties together timeless wisdom with modern leadership challenges, especially in high-stakes arenas like cybersecurity and military command. It really reinforces the idea that leadership is a long game.
Right? And that long game is built on perseverance. Romans 5:3-4 tells us that suffering produces perseverance, character, and hope. So every criticism becomes part of that refining process. It's like turning adversity into a forge that shapes better leaders.
And I bet that process transforms not just individual leaders, but entire teams. When a leader models resilience and openness to feedback, they set a tone for collective growth, don't you think?
For sure. When leaders embrace feedback, even the tough criticism, they create an environment where healthy debate and honest perspectives are the norm. It's like, iron sharpening iron. You get stronger together.
Yeah, I love that analogy. But here's a thought. How do we, as leaders, ensure that our receptiveness to criticism doesn't turn into indecision due to too many conflicting opinions?
Good question. I mean, it's vital to have systems in place, like regular self-assessments and trusted feedback loops, that help you filter and prioritize. Not every critique requires immediate action. Sometimes it's about taking a step back and weighing the feedback against your own vision and values.
That makes sense, and it resonates with the idea of self-awareness being your anchor. You know what aligns with your core values, and you use that to sift through the noise.
Exactly, and this ties back to the practical strategies mentioned. Know thyself, consider the source, and mine for gold in every piece of feedback. It's a holistic approach to leadership that embraces both resilience and hope.
And it definitely sets a proactive path, turning criticism into a catalyst for growth rather than a deterrent. I can see how that would benefit not just individual leaders, but entire organizations.
Totally, and it circles back to Bob Fabien BZ Zinga's experiences. His blend of military discipline with Silicon Valley innovation creates a masterclass example of how leadership, when faced with criticism, can forge strength and inclusion even in the harshest environments.
It's impressive how these lessons apply universally, whether you're leading a cybersecurity team, a corporate boardroom, or even a community initiative. It's all about staying in the arena.
Yes, indeed. Staying in the arena means accepting that criticism will always be present. But rather than letting it paralyze you, you use it as evidence that you're daring greatly, that you're accountable, and that you're committed to excellence.
Yeah, that's a powerful closing thought. It reminds us all that leadership, like any worthwhile pursuit, demands courage, resilience, and a constant willingness to learn, even if that means hearing some hard truths along the way.
Frequently asked questions. What is the fundamental nature of criticism for leaders? Criticism is an inherent and unavoidable aspect of leadership. As Albert J. Dunlap stated, the price of leadership is criticism. Leaders who strive for ambitious goals and meaningful missions will inevitably face scrutiny. The author, Bob Fabien Zinga, emphasizes that criticism is not a sign of failure, but rather evidence one is leading, and attempts to avoid it entirely would mean saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing.
Why do leaders often find criticism difficult to handle, and what is the danger of oversensitivity? Criticism frequently triggers an emotional reaction because it can feel like a personal attack. However, leaders must avoid oversensitivity. Nelson Mandela warned that it is a grave error for any leader to be oversensitive in the face of criticism, as it can derail their focus from the mission to protecting their ego. Denzel Washington's observation that you'll never be criticized by someone doing more than you, you'll always be criticized by someone doing less, suggests that much criticism comes from sideline spectators, rather than those actively engaged in leadership, further emphasizing the need for emotional composure.
What are the 4 practical strategies for leaders to effectively handle criticism? The 4 strategies are: know thyself. Self-awareness helps leaders understand their strengths, weaknesses, and values, allowing them to discern if criticism targets their person or their role, and to absorb feedback without internalizing every negative comment. Consider the source. Leaders should evaluate the critic's experience, knowledge, and overall perspective. It's crucial to prioritize feedback from mentors, trusted peers, and those invested in one's growth, rather than unqualified or chronic complainers. Consider the intent. Leaders should discern whether the criticism is constructive, aimed at improvement, or destructive, aimed at tearing down. The tone and underlying motivation are key indicators. Extract the gold, discard the dirt. Even flawed criticism may contain valuable insights. Leaders should mine for gold by separating helpful truths from exaggeration or hostility, applying what is valid and discarding the rest.
How do the parables of acres of diamonds, 3 feet from gold, the farmer and the donkey, and the optimistic son illustrate resilience in leadership? These parables offer powerful lessons in resilience. Acres of diamonds teaches leaders not to abandon their current position in search of better opportunities, as diamonds, opportunities, and growth may already exist where they are. 3 feet from gold emphasizes perseverance, reminding leaders that success is often closer than it appears, and breakthroughs often follow the hardest struggles despite critics urging them to quit. The farmer and the donkey illustrates how to transform adversity into growth. When life, or critics, throws dirt at leaders, they can use it as a platform to rise higher. The optimistic son highlights the importance of attitude. Optimism allows leaders to find solutions and opportunities even in challenging circumstances, reframing problems as chances for growth. How do the quotes from Albert J. Dunlap, Denzel Washington, and Nelson Mandela collectively guide a leader's approach to criticism? Together, these quotes form a comprehensive compass for navigating criticism. Albert J. Dunlap's "The price of leadership is criticism" sets the expectation that criticism is an inevitable entry fee for meaningful leadership. Denzel Washington's "You'll never be criticized by someone doing more than you" provides perspective, suggesting that harsh critiques often come from those on the sidelines, not fellow leaders who are too busy with their own missions. Nelson Mandela's "It is a grave error for any leader to be oversensitive" underscores the need for emotional fortitude, urging leaders to develop thick skin without hardening their hearts to avoid being derailed by opinions. Combined, they advise leaders to expect criticism, filter its source, and lead with courage despite it.
What is the importance of staying in the arena for leaders? Staying in the arena, a concept inspired by Theodore Roosevelt, signifies a leader's commitment to active engagement despite vulnerability. When in the arena, every action is magnified, inviting criticism whether one stumbles or succeeds. The lesson is to persist regardless, focusing on the mission and those who support it, rather than being paralyzed by the opinions of spectators. It means accepting criticism as an inherent part of doing significant work.
How does embracing constructive criticism contribute to a leader's wisdom and decision-making according to Proverbs 15:31 and Ecclesiastes 7:5? Proverbs 15:31. If you listen to constructive criticism, you will be at home among the wise, highlights that wise leaders actively welcome feedback. They understand it sharpens their decision-making and character, viewing it not as an attack but as a gift that provides valuable perspective. Ecclesiastes 7:5. It is better to heed the rebuke of a wise person than to listen to the song of fools. Further emphasizes the importance of discerning wise correction from misleading flattery. Choosing to listen to honest, even stinging, rebuke fosters genuine growth and prevents self-deception, ultimately leading to wisdom.
In what ways do adversity and feedback build perseverance, character, and hope, as illuminated by Romans 5:3-4 and Proverbs 27:17? Romans 5:3-4 states that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. This illustrates that criticism and adversity act as refining fires that forge endurance and shape a leader's character. Leaders who embrace hardship as an opportunity for growth emerge stronger, steadier, and more hopeful, not out of naivety but from proven resilience. Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another, likens feedback, even sharp criticism, to a mutual sharpening process. This constructive confrontation, like iron striking iron, creates sparks, but ultimately leads to better strategies, refined ideas, and stronger leaders within teams, transforming challenges into collective strength.
Think on these things. What's truly striking about Fabien Zinga's approach to leadership is not just how grounded it is in real-world experience, from the Navy's chain of command to the flat teams of Silicon Valley, but how it's also informed by timeless wisdom. In his article, Bob draws on scripture, yes, ancient texts written thousands of years ago, and reveals just how relevant they remain for leaders navigating today's chaotic and complex world. This isn't about preaching. It's about principles, unchanging truths that have guided great leaders across generations. What's powerful here is how seamlessly these insights complement everything we've explored so far. Let's walk through each of these ancient verses Bob highlights and unpack what they mean for today's leader, military or tech, startup or enterprise.
Proverbs 15:31. If you listen to constructive criticism, you will be at home among the wise. Leadership. Insight. Wise leaders welcome feedback because they know it sharpens their decision-making and character. Constructive criticism is not an attack, but a gift. It provides the perspective you might not see yourself. Ignoring it isolates leaders. Embracing it surrounds them with wisdom. Coaching prompts. Do you currently seek out feedback or avoid it? How can you make it safer for your team to give you honest input? What's one recent critique you can reframe as an opportunity for growth?
Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good. At the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Leadership insight. Great leadership is a long game. It's easy to get discouraged when hard work isn't immediately rewarded or when critics overshadow progress. This verse reminds us that perseverance in doing good eventually pays off. The harvest comes in due season, not overnight. Coaching prompts. Where in your leadership journey are you tempted to give up too soon? What practices help you recharge when fatigue sets in? How can you measure progress, not perfection, to stay motivated?
Romans 5:3-4. Suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Leadership. Insight, criticism, and adversity are refining fires. They build endurance, shape character, and ultimately give rise to hope. Hope grounded not in naivety, but in proven resilience. Leaders who embrace hardship as growth emerge stronger and steadier for future challenges. Coaching prompts. What past hardship in your career unexpectedly strengthened your character? How does your current adversity prepare you for future leadership roles? Where do you see hope forming in the middle of difficulty right now?
Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Leadership, insight, feedback, even sharp criticism is part of the mutual sharpening process of leadership. Just as iron striking iron creates sparks, but also sharpens edges. Constructive confrontation in teams leads to better strategies, refined ideas, and stronger leaders. Coaching prompts. Who in your life sharpens you by telling hard truths? How do you respond when healthy friction arises in your team? How can you turn sparks into strength rather than conflict?
James 1:19. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Leadership insight. Criticism often triggers a defensive reaction, but leaders who pause, listen, and respond thoughtfully demonstrate emotional intelligence and earn respect. Slow reactions create room for clarity and prevent rash decisions or damaging words. Coaching prompts. In the last critique you received, were you quick to listen or quick to react? How can you build a personal habit of pausing before responding? Who can help you process feedback objectively before acting?
Ecclesiastes 7:5. It is better to heed the rebuke of a wise person than to listen to the song of fools. Leadership, insight. Leaders must discern between wise correction, which can sting but saves us, and flattery, which feels good but misleads us. Choosing the harder path of listening to rebuke fosters true growth and protects us from self-deception. Coaching prompts. Are you more motivated by praise or honest feedback? How do you discern between wise voices and foolish ones in your circle? What systems can you create to invite rebuke from wise mentors?
So, as we wrap up today's episode of the Leadership and Success podcast with Coach BZ, we invite you to reflect. What spoke to you today? Which leadership insight will you carry into tomorrow? What are your 3 takeaways from this episode? What's one leadership insight you've just learned or been reminded of that you'll apply this week? Type it in the comments so others can grow from your insight. And tag a colleague, junior officer, or tech leader who could benefit from this episode. Join us again tomorrow right here for the next episode in this powerful leadership series. Until then, keep growing, keep leading, and as always, stay resilient.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Leadership and Success podcast. I'm checking in on YouTube and LinkedIn. I don't see any question, but we did get an hello from a young gamer on Twitch, 7WayZFNR. Thank you for letting us know that you are watching there. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about another important subject, and we're going to be talking about strategy. So it's going to be Clausewitz versus Sun Tzu. We're going to be talking about ancient war principle for modern cyber security leadership. As a junior officer in the U.S. Navy, we were required to go through the Joint Professional Military Education Program, where we learned about strategy and warfare. And a lot of the principle I learned there are actually applicable to businesses and, in this case, cyber security leadership. So that's going to be for tomorrow. I'll be back here at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time or 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to our channels and come back for more wisdom nuggets on how you may develop into a better leader and achieve greater levels of success. Leadership is the most critical skill. The world will always need leaders to lead others, deploy the next disruptive technology, or execute a business strategy. You may as well decide on counting yourself among the 21st century leaders. See you right here next time on the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
Bye, everybody. This is Coach BZ. Thanks for watching. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, and share.